just got pranked, bro!
Alright, so today we're going to talk about why Classic is a piece of shit game. And while some people might actually agree with this because, well, Zugrap is not turning out that well and most of the content creators are jumping back over to retail, they might agree. But it's not just that Classic is a piece of shit game, because that would mean we would only blame present-day Blizzard. No. Your potentially childhood game, the original vanilla, the product of what is eventually now Classic, is also a piece of shit game. So, in this video, I'm going to do the following to your beloved childhood game. Now, why am I making this video now? Well, honestly, I have a feeling that by the time next Rammus comes out, it'll suffer the same fate as the thing that happened to Blackwing Glare and Molten Core. Because you can say whatever you want about the talents being tweaked to like 112 or whatever, people in vanilla still struggled at endgame content. Whereas I doubt that 112 talents was all that it took that certain level 60s in Green Gear could basically clear the entirety of Molten Core. And at that point, there's a chance that these types of videos might actually become a trend, so I kind of want to go ahead of the curve. Which is probably the reason why I'm making it now, before Encourage is even out yet. Basically, I do have a problem with plenty of classic players, like I do with plenty of old school RuneScape players. But this is a WoW video, so we're going to stick to that one. Now, people do like to trash talk the retail community for being too spoiled and that the player base wants everything handed out to them. And in certain situations, I could consider that a fair argument. What the classic players fail to realize, however, is that they are also entitled. It's only that the things that they feel entitled to are kind of different. So when you consider that retail players might be entitled to like dungeons or raids via looking for dungeon or looking for raid, basically tool that helps speed up the process, the Classic community is basically entitled in the sense that they kind of don't really want to interact with people, especially not in retail, because that actually requires effort. No. You have to basically take everything that the retail game has, any form of tool, and everything has to be done manually. And also you kind of have to gimp all the classes, not to mention make a bunch of quests either impossible to do on certain characters, or simply put like a bunch of elite mobs, so that there's like no choice in the matter, but you kind of actually have to cooperate with our players. Now, so they will claim that that's like the pinnacle of game creation. I, on the other hand, have to disagree wholeheartedly. Like, people are bullshitting about all of the all of the organic buildings that you get with forming a community when they're like locked to a specific realm where you can't really escape via realm transfers and all of that. But let's be honest, I don't think there's anything organic about the classic game of classic gameplay in general. There's nothing organic. Organic would be alright, giving them all the tools with multiple options. Oh, we have a challenger. And basically make them fight each other. Well, actually we're fighting a mob. But give them all the tools and see if they want to interact with each other or no. What Classic does is, like, if you want to do basically anything in this game, you have no choice but to cooperate with other people. So what kind of a community is that, realistically? Because what you're essentially saying is, or rather, the question that I would like to ask is, do your guild members, your friends, are they your friends because they like you as a person, or was it like, you know what, I better keep my mouth shut if I actually want to do this dungeon, because if I actually piss this guy off, or I disagree with him, we might not do a certain amount of content. It is maybe not a hostage situation, but it's definitely like you gotta tread carefully in whatever you do. I mean, let's be honest. At least in retail, if you have people talking to you, it's because they want to talk to you or hang out or something. There's not a hidden agenda that they want you to carry them through like dead mines or something. Even though that could still happen, but uh, all right. Let me kill this dog and we can go to the next topic at hand. Wow, that was actually pretty close. He almost got me there. I guess 20 levels just isn't enough. But oh well, moving on. But as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, I don't really see any kind of a healthy relationship in the community that the WoW Classic player base has. It's pretty much everything is done by force. Every kind of interaction is made out of necessity rather than like a longing or need to create a suitable, relationship with other players. And an additional downfall is that the majority of people are already entering this game as a team, so they already kind of have their groups of either other co-players, friends that they played retail or maybe they've played classic, quit and they're coming back. So they will not make as many friends because they already kind of have a posse. Or you have like those big streamers who already have like a certain group which they will hang on to, and there will be no like other people making friends. So the only one that will be actually getting the classic vanilla experience would be maybe first timers or players who don't really have many, if any, friends currently. And honestly, they're going to struggle because it's always difficult to enter a group where you're like the new guy, because you're kind of already they already are fine. They already have all the players they need. It's not that like you are a necessity. So even if you are like friendly, it's difficult to enter a new group of friends. And that's without all the necessity parts where you might need someone's help in either doing a quest, doing a dungeon, have them trade you a certain items, or so that they can enchant you or something, or whatever the fuck else that I can think of at the moment. Now, classic players do like to go on and on about how retail players are, lazy, entitled, that we want free max level characters decked out with all the epics from the mythic raid and so on, with of course the achievement of clearing the last boss. But let's go to the other side of the coin and let's see some of the failures that vanilla has. And while I can certainly look at, I can understand the time crunch with making a complete game, these sort of things are kind of like, really? This is what you're going to claim made the game a better place? Like, I'm sorry, but if I'm paying $60 or whatever the price was when Vanilla WoW actually was released, on top of the $15 a month not expansion, but membership, I would like at least expect to have like a number of how many free spaces do I have in my backpack. I'm not exactly sure why that was sort of an issue, but maybe that's just me being too entitled or something. At the second part would have been the displaying of quests, because I'm sorry, I didn't know that I was asking for far too much to have more than like 4 quests being displayed at a certain time, because apparently that's the max. I mean, the WoW Classic or Vanilla, however you wish to call it, has like 10 quests in total in the entire game. So I'm not exactly sure what the big deal was to put all of them like as visible quest objectives. Not that you have to go to your like the equivalent of quest tabs and then opening all of them up. But hey, I guess I'm too entitled in that part. Now, the next one would be the gimping of certain classes. And I mean, I suppose the classes that got gimped was just to help the other classes out in the form of balance. But let's say, take for example, hunters, who basically have to sacrifice the entirety of their bag slot, one of their bank slots, for ammo quiver. Because let's be honest, that thing is just bullshit through and through. Like you could, it's not like that you need the additional ammo capacity that the quiver actually offers. No, not really. Even with like the 200 stacks that the classic has, as opposed to, let's say, Wrath of the Lich King, where it like stacks to, I believe it was like 1,000 ammo per slot. But even with 200, like 2,000 ammo is more than enough ammo before you have to restock. I doubt you'll be out and about questing, because you will have to return to the camp anyways to vendor all your loot, because you don't really have enough bank slots early on, bag slots rather, and 2,000 more is more than enough. So if you actually have all 16 slot bags, it's kind of a inventory waste. But you kind of have to, uh, you still have to take that ammo pouch, because it's like 10% attack speed. So essentially, you have to forfeit 6 or more bag spaces just to get that. But hey, that's apparently class fantasy or whatever bullshit the classic community wants you to believe. Yeah, yeah. Gimping yourself so that you can have a quiver that you can barely see, if you can see it at all. Maybe you could once you unsheath the weapon and take out the bow and arrow. Oh yeah, that in those rare circumstances, that's what the class fantasy is all about, right? Give me a break. Now, let's talk about combat. Now, me personally, I really don't have a problem with like one button rotations. Like hell, I can tolerate Demon Hunters limited movesets, so it's only fair that I tolerate mages spamming Frostbolt. But that's not a problem. The problem is that World of Warcraft, in its essence, is basically World of Downtime craft. Because when you're fighting, it's downtime. Once you've killed your boss, you kind of have to eat or bandage up, so there's downtime. If you die, you have to run back to your quest, which is downtime. There's basically no ground mounts until like level 40, so you have to walk, therefore you have more downtime. All of this to me just screams piece of shit game. And what's funny is that like if such game was released by Blizzard today, so let's not say a WoW Classic, call it with something else, they would say that they would be cynical enough to say that that's just Activision wanting those, player investment time, how many hours they play on whatever. Oh yeah, sure, but the original creators of Blizzard were probably saints. I'm sure they didn't really have that in the back of their mind when they were making this. I mean, yeah, why make mounts available at level 40? It's not like the longest zones were like in the 20 to 40 range. Like the Barons seem to come to mind. You know, a ground mount would be perfect for the Barons. The ground mount would have been perfect for like Stranglethorn Vale, which is, I believe, somewhere in between like level 30 to level 40 zone. Although I haven't really done it yet because I don't really care about Classic, because it's a piece of shit game. But it's like, why level 40? It's not like the zones. This version is kind of different, but for the most part, there haven't been a lot of zones that changed in size. You do have like the Barrens, which is here with. I don't really have this even explored. But yeah, you do have the Southern Barrens, which are massive on its own. You have the Northern Barrens, which are also pretty big. There's not a lot of. Oh yeah, and there's also in Kalimdor Darkshore, because yeah, this long stretch where you have to go from like maybe one place to the other. Yeah, why the fuck would you want ground mount for that? It's much better to run. I mean, why the fuck would you run? Why not just RP walk the whole way? Yeah, do it like this. Maybe a little bit of this. There we go. That's immersion. This is what people pay $15 a month plus $60 or however much cash it was back in the day. Ah, yes. So clean, so serene. Really? Really? But let's go back to combat because I believe that's the biggest issue of all of this. Like, people can tolerate a lot of shit if they find combat enjoyable. And while that is subjective, I must say that's probably if one part of classic or vanilla is a piece of shit game, the combat is definitely that part. Because I thought old school RuneScape combat was bad, but at least then with like when you're just like if it's all auto attacks, it's alright, fine. You put like auto retaliate if you want to kill more hostile mobs, especially if you're like in a zone where you can only attack one mob instead of multiple ones. It's not a big deal. You like find a target, you stand here, you pull out your weapons, you attack, you go grab a sandwich. By the time you're back, you've either killed the mob, in which case great, or you died yourself, so it's like, fuck, I gotta go get my items. Prefer unless you're AFK for a bit too long and the items despawned. But at least there was no, like, you could have AFK'd that process. So it's a different time of gameplay entirely. While Classic is basically the worst of both worlds. The combat is not engaging enough, but it's just on that urge that on that verge where you have to press a button because you can't really kill a mob with auto attacks alone. Even paladins still kind of have to cast Judgment or Flash of Light to heal themselves. So even then, it's like not fully AFK. So you basically have to be there. You have to pay attention to press that button, and then it's like, boom. And now you have to wait. And now you have to wait because there's nothing else you can do but press. And then maybe like 5 or 6 seconds pass. Oh, maybe we'll do one of those. It's like 4 seconds of you just sitting there doing basically nothing with your life. Like, goddamn, if you're gonna give them abilities, at least give them something that's spammable. So there's a little bit of an interaction. Maybe with one ability it wouldn't work because Frost Mage's work kind of not enjoyable for the majority of population. The same situation happened to Warlocks in TBC when they were like Destro Warlocks who were just Shadow Bolt turrets. But, I mean, hey, at least there's interaction there. It's not like hit a button every 5 seconds. Oh yeah, the authentic classic experience. What else do I want to cover? Like maybe loot distribution in raids, but that's basically the same shit as Blizzard. Even then, like you already know they made like one class that was specifically to like one faction. So you have paladins for the alliance, you have shamans for the horde. And yet, interestingly enough, they also didn't think about, you know, if the Alliance does that, is it really fair that we give them, like, Horde loot, which is basically worthless unless you have an enchanter or something, otherwise it's just pure vendor trash? No, not really. So, yeah, Activision Blizzard is bad, but I'm pretty sure that the guys who made that, yeah, only 3 items per boss if you're lucky. Yeah, that's probably amazing game design, pretty rewarding and whatnot. And on the topic of this rewarding and casual and hardcore, I've noticed that things have changed. And I suppose it does come with time. But like in Cataclysm and Mist of Pandaria, people are like, everything is too easy in retail. WoW, the quests are too easy, the gearing is too easy. And now with Titan Forging and everything, the dailies, the weeklies, all the other content that you do in order to be relevant to do a raid. Now players are going back. It's like, whoa, no, it's not that the classic was hardcore. No, it's more casual. Now the word casual is apparently a good thing as opposed to being a derogatory term that players used to use to trash retail WoW. Now all of a sudden the classic community can't hack it. They certainly can't hack it with the boss mechanics that Retail was always better at. Now they can't even put in the work. So it's not just the world buffs, it's grinding your Heart of Azeroth. If we're talking about BFA, it was about upgrading your artifact powers in Legion. There's the Titan Forging and everything that came before it. So basically, they don't even have that ground to stand on. Personally, I don't really care about that aspect, but I do find it funny. But I suppose that's the deal. When you have a piece of shit game, you have to defend it in like in the most stupidest of ways. Just a little side note, I do find it ironic that the day I decide to record this video, I actually got some vanilla ice cream. I'm not exactly sure how that aligned up, but hey, it is what it is. Be right back. Well, at the very least, vanilla ice cream isn't shit, but with that being said, I still prefer chocolate. Now, I'm sure nobody asked or even cares why the hell am I on a level 20 in Eastern Plaguelands. But that was pretty much to illustrate a point that I've pretty much demonstrated a bit prematurely when that hound attacked me. But it's because the classic players who actually were playing retail for the time, before it came out, they were all bitching and moaning about certain way the leveling was done, how it's oh so easy that you can like out level a zone and whatever, and and if you wanna finish the zone, you basically get 0 experience. Like, bitch, what exactly is your problem? I mean, if you've done the entire zone, it would have been the same as if you were like getting if you got the experience all the way through. What exactly was it? Was it a challenge? I mean, that's what the 7.3, I believe, patch or whatever it was that would basically introduce the level scaling. And brother, before that patch came out, or maybe I believe before and after, I do have like a video of me fighting a mob here in Eastern Plaguelands, where basically, let me taunt this son of a bitch off, where I basically fought a mob that is essentially like 20 levels higher than I am. It was on a Belial of Paladin in Retribution spec. Now we can also do this basically on oh fuck, well that's definitely not planned. But like I said, I already made a video fighting mobs in this location on Belial of Paladin in Retribution spec, and it's doable. Now, of course, it's not doable if you have to fight more than one mob, but let me actually pull this one here, just so that I don't really pull an additional one, because I'm already giving them a 20 level advantage. They don't really need any other assistance. Alright, heal back up. So basically I have no idea what the fuck those classic players wanted. But you know what, Soul were leveling at that point because something happened in the Wrath of the Lich King leveling area where it took like over a minute to kill an enemy. And it wasn't because it was a difficult boss, but your damage was atrocious, number one. And number two, their health pools were like massive compared to what the player had. So yeah, that's not exactly the way to increase difficulty. But I mean, at a certain point, what exactly is the alternative? Like maybe one-shot mechanics like those Mr. Pandaria Mogu statues have, that basically they'll do a cone of damage. If you don't get out of it, you get one-shot. I mean, alright, but it's just like, it's more of a test whether you're paying attention or not. So it's not like it's an amazing display of skill. So basically I have no idea what exactly the player base wants, nor why do they want it. They are not really logical in that regard. I mean, I could say the same for why they hate looking for dungeon. But honestly, I think that's just like they wanting to be control freaks, basically. In Classic, if they have like enough players on their side or their class, it basically puts control in their hands. So it's basically, no, 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 I'm gonna invite people on my terms, and with LFD in the game, they're unable to do that. So it has nothing to do with community. It's basically like I want to decide who I bring. So basically, the classic players before classic was around, they were still like stirring shit up in retail. And one of the most notable examples of that was basically Warlords of Draenor, where they were like, no, no, Blizzard is right, don't give them flying because it ruins immersion or whatever the fuck their excuse was in that regard. And yeah, I might have actually even tolerated Warlords of Draenor despite its flaws if it actually had flying. So you could at least do certain shit. I mean, you could still, explore, do all of the quests once you get your flying. Maybe do a little bit of dailies, hunt for those treasures, because I was achievement hunter in Cataclysm when I started playing it in the Mists. And back in those days, I actually had a pretty decent amount of achievement points. It was nowhere near like full completionist, but it was like 60 to 70%. Now with BFA, it's basically barely over 50%. Why? Because Warlords of Draenor and every expansion after that basically killed my motivation in that regard, especially with current content. Well, there was also some real life issues, but that's besides the point. Anyways, these fuckers basically just want to mess around with the current retail game, whether that be hashtag no flying or whether that be running to the dungeon for like Mythic Plus or anything in between. So I'm not exactly a big fan of the community, especially once when Classic was like being debated where it should be released or not. But maybe that's because I actually had some hindsight with how the situation ended up with RuneScape. In which case, you basically have maybe a few people who play both games, but you have the RuneScape free players and the old school RuneScape players who basically hate each other even like 7 years after the split was made. So I'm predicting that WoW will go down their path. However, it's going to be different because with WoW they'll definitely simply just go copy and paste. Why? Because classic players were against pristine servers, so I doubt they would even want Classic Plus. And there's also them not trusting Blizzard. But at that point, if you can't trust the company, maybe the healthiest thing is just to move on and not hold them hostage like the old school player base does to Jagex. I mean, if a gaming company can't even do anything in their game, well, fuck it. I mean, listen to your customers, sure, but don't be a slave to them. So, the last part I want to do is call out certain people who were, well, let's just say I did find them annoying when this whole before Classic actually even launched. Like, the prime suspect was definitely that homosexual, Alex Sensual, because he was probably the most toxic piece of shit that was behind the hashtag no changes and whatnot. He wasn't the most influential WoW player, but he was definitely the loudest and the most toxic. I mean, with making of these videos, who am I to call someone toxic? I understand that, and that's a fair argument to be made. But, I mean, this is basically a reaction to everything that happened since then. So you know what? Let me have my 20 or 30 minutes or however long this video is going to be. Now, from what I've seen recently, Alex has been trolled by his streamers and whatnot. So you know what? I can't really go too hard into him because he got what he deserved. But the little bitch became philosophical and basically went into hiding as soon as Classic came out. So I'm kind of salty about that, but I mean, it's not like I can be barred to level 260 on his realm and then challenge him to a duel to put him in his place, because that would be way too much effort for not enough payment. Who else? I mean, Asmongold wasn't really toxic, but he was a bit too much praising WoW Classic, and now he, I think he realized it's not all that it's cracked up to be. But he also kind of lost McConnell in the process because of shit I don't really want to get into, and he is basically doomed to be trolled by his chat. So yeah, he's doomed to a fate worse than that. So I can't really go too deep into him as well. And the last person I want to mention is Nixium, because well, he's definitely a shrewd one that can't be denied. Like even before BFA, I want to say, I believe it was even in Legion, he was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling the game, which is fair, but then he started playing other MMOs, started shit talking about WoW, then he started shit talking retail and how great Classic is. Yeah, what happened when Classic actually released? Where exactly are all the machinimas and whatever? You know, I was expecting, considering Classic is so goddamn fucking amazing, that he would actually, you know, maybe turn out some decent content. But no, there's nothing about his Death Knight Night Elf, like what class was he? He could have done the entirety, like his leveling is like a huge machinima over a course of several YouTube videos when he starts out in like Teldrassil and all of that. Like, would he be a warrior? Would he be something else? Hell, maybe he was like a hunter, but the pet died in the process because he didn't take care of it. You know, he could have had the follow-ups, and he could also just keep going with the materials into the Burning Crusade, into like Wrath of the Lich King, where he finally somehow dies, or maybe he dies in Classic and he waits until Wrath, where it's like basically we see him to the present day when he first started making those videos. But no, nothing to that regard. He basically did nothing really worthwhile with the expansion. So honestly, my man, it's not that you have like it's not really the game's fault. It's your fault. Not only is vanilla a piece of shit game, but you, my man, are also a piece of shit YouTuber. Mind you, I did not say a piece of shit human. No, that's my job. But you are definitely, your YouTube skills definitely went down the shitter. Now, you did release like a video a day or so ago about how you lost your mojo because Mooklock isn't around. And honestly, I'm not buying that excuse. Like, I understand what it means to lose like a creative inspiration and all that, but unless you and Mooklock were butt buddies, that doesn't really prevent you from collaborating with other WoW YouTubers. I mean, you could have asked Noble for help, Grim. There are plenty of like animators, even on a smaller scale, that you could reach out, maybe toss a few ideas around, and hell, maybe you could have made something amazing. But now you don't even know what to do yourself. But I see that you still know how to trash talk retail WoW. Yeah, that's some great quality content right there, my man. Oh, and another thing, you could have also maybe included the 58 Death Knight. Now, considering he never really played vanilla in that regard, you could have simply made him like a dwarf warrior or something along those lines. Maybe make something with that, or maybe just make an elitist stereotype who looks down on plebs. There's plenty of shit you could have done even with a piece of shit game such as Classic. But no, you just honestly don't give a shit. Yeah, I mean, it's fair, but, you know, I can't really feel much sympathy for you in that regard. Your lethargy is your issue. You have to find a way to fix it. And honestly, oh, one more thing. It's fine that you trash talk retail when retail is everything that you basically owe everything to the retail version that made you the YouTuber that you are. Your Death Knight Nile is basically from Wrath of the Lich King or later on. The Calling of Arthas was also Wrath of the Lich King expansion, so that's basically one of the videos that got you famous. But yeah, apparently retail is a piece of shit game. Even without the gameplay being subpar, there's like a million things you could do if you had the will. You don't have the will, which is fine. But don't blame that on the game. Because it's not the game, it's you. So, in conclusion, World of Warcraft Classic and Vanilla is a piece of shit game. It promotes an unhealthy community, which is all about dominance and whatnot. And even though I can actually respect that, the people who actually play it would be against hierarchy in that regard, at least in real life. And basically, the streamers and everyone who promoted them have actually suffered pretty, well, maybe not drastically, but it's not really going that good for them. I mean, Asmongold is kind of seeing a resurgence, which is good, but he's also coming back to retail, so maybe it's connected. Still, it's nice to see some transmog competition and the mount-ups from him. Because let's be honest, the mount-ups in Classic would be kinda boring. It might have dozen mounts in total. But basically that's all I have to say about the topic. Anyways, oh yeah, by the way, I know I'm gonna have a lot of salty vanilla slash classic players, so by all means, do make that like bar into a red lightsaber. I don't mind. Hell, I encourage it. See ya.